So for this report, the top risk was far and above information security risk, and there were a couple of key drivers for this, mainly an increased external threat along with a rapid push towards digitalization. And this really has been exacerbated by the current pandemic and the increased need to work remotely. Next up was third party. The main driver here was negative economic environments, and there were many concerns really around the resilience and liquidity of third parties. We then had business continuity, which again would link to the rapid changes needed to ensure that business could carry on as usual due to the pandemic, and also the continued reliance on these contingency plans. We then had technology. Again, this was due to the push towards digitalization and also the increased use of remote working. It was really found that these changes were kind of straining systems that weren't really prepared for such a dramatic change, and it was really testing their resilience. So as of now, really any technological failure could have a really severe impact. And then finally, number 5 was regulatory compliance. This really shot up from 11th in the last review to 5th. Respondents said that they're seeing increased scrutiny from regulators, particularly with these negative economic environments, which do have the potential to spur misconduct events. Overall, there are a few differences compared to the last review, but really what we're starting to see is things are beginning to return to the risks that we saw in ORX's Horizon 2020 report. So that was published before the pandemic. Another few key differences, though, which really do reflect the current situation. Business continuity and third party in particular were a little bit different. And as well as this, I think the key drivers for information security risk have changed. The concerns around increased digitalization have really become a reality due to these rapid changes that we've seen this year. What many respondents told us was that reporting requirements are actually becoming more complex and even more frequent. So that was one of the key challenges for this risk. Another couple of key issues that we identified do actually directly relate to the coronavirus pandemic. The first is that as things start to settle down and people start to return to offices, we're expecting a lot more legal requirements around returning to physical premises and employee safety and so on. On top of that, since many firms are working globally and across multiple jurisdictions, there's going to be a challenge in making sure that all of these requirements are met, which can be quite a task since they're quite inconsistent and often unpredictable, which reflects the situation really. As well as this, continued remote working arrangements mean that many control environments have had to relax and are still relaxed across the year. So this could lead to increased misconduct events if employees choose to take advantage of this. And finally, not really pandemic related, there are some key geopolitical factors playing into this. So Brexit, for example, is probably going to have quite a large impact on firms which are working both in the EU and the UK. Interestingly, people came out as 9th in this review compared to 4th last time. Now, that's not to say that people are not being considered at all. It is still quite an important driver, and insurers, for example, rated this risk as their number 2. But from what response have told us, it's more the case that other risks have taken priority given the current situation. We could actually start to see this risk increase in importance again. If we take Europe, for example, there was quite a quiet period in terms of the pandemic, but we're now starting to see second, sometimes even third waves. And also government restrictions are again being imposed, things like lockdowns. So these factors might actually bring people back into the top 5 in future risk reviews. So again, people might increase in importance if government restrictions continue to impact day-to-day life. As I mentioned, we could also start to see conduct coming into the top 5. Many respondents spoke about regulatory focus on conduct given the negative economic environments and also the relaxed control environments. Really, these control environments might actually increase the likelihood of misconduct, but also might hinder the ability to detect misconduct as well. Another one that we could see is external fraud. That one has actually lingered around the top 5 in both of these reviews. So it was 6th in the last review, it was 8th in this review. It could start to come to the top 5 given the amount of government mandated programs that we've seen to help businesses and retail customers. Looking towards the longer term, we will shortly be launching the ORX Horizon 2021 study with a slightly different focus. This time we'll be focusing on emerging risks facing the industry. So that will provide quite an in-depth look at the challenges facing the financial services industry in the longer term.